what I'd like to ask you, Robert, is this question. I'd like to talk about the public personages, people who are in elected or appointed office that you compromised by prostitution. In other words, these are individuals that have sworn an oath to the Constitution.
Michael, you know, I've been asked that question by many, many people, and I don't like doing that because, first of all, I did not write a book about kiss and tell, okay? And the thing is, you know, what they were involved in with me, you know, never became public. And some of these people are dead. And some of them are alive. It doesn't matter whether they're dead or alive. If the ones who are dead, they got families. I'm going to hurt those families very badly, Michael.
Okay, I'll back off that completely. I was just going on what you told me earlier you wanted to talk about.
There's not a single one. I thought about what we talked about, and there's not a single person that I could name that does not have family. And I'm gonna hurt this family very badly. And the people who are dead, they cannot defend themselves. And that's the problem that I have right now, is because President Nixon was innocent. He had nothing to do with Watergate. He lost his job. He lost being the President of the United States of America, which is the most populous country in the entire world. And he lost his seat in the White House because of that. And it was all lies. He was set up. And I'm the only person in the world who knows that was true, that he was set up. And, you know, he died. He died without me being able to talk to him. I talked to his son-in-law, Edward Cox. I talked to a lot of people connected with the president. And he lived just across the river from me here in New York. The president lived just across the river in New Jersey. And I tried several times to talk to him, and I could never get through to him. But, Michael, he died in disgrace. And it's not right. It's not right. So look at the damage that was done to him. And like I said, I can prove that the man was innocent. But, you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm giving these interviews, is because I'd like to tell people about him being innocent, even though he's dead. Maybe somebody somewhere will understand. But to name these other people who I had sex with, who I compromised, if they didn't have family, it would be different, Michael. But they have family. And it's going to hurt them. It's going to do a lot of damage to those people's families. And they've done nothing wrong. So, I hope you understand. I hope you really understand this.
Right. I stand corrected because earlier we talked differently. It sounded like you did want to say it. Maybe I misunderstood you.
No, you're right. I did say it to you. And at the time, I thought that I was seriously going to do it. And then I started thinking about what I was doing. And I could, you know, I could hurt a lot of people. And in a way I care, and in a way I don't care, Michael. But the thing is these families, they would not hurt. I mean, they won't be hurt unless I do it to them myself. They have no idea that their husbands or their fathers or their grandfathers or whatever, you know, was all involved in this corruption stuff with me, and who was in compromising situations with me. And if I start naming names, it's going to be very bad. It is really going to be very bad, Michael. I cannot find it in my heart to do it. I just can't.
I would say, just based on what I know, that's the Holy Ghost working in you, and that's fine with me. Now, I did want to ask you this. You mentioned that you actually had meetings with President Nixon.
Yes, I did, and I will tell that. But again, I made a promise to the president that I would never tell what we talked about, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Is because the things that the president and I talked about was things that I was already doing. I was already hurting people. I was doing all kinds of things. I did not know it until I met with him, but my money that was being paid to me was coming out of the White House. It was coming out of the White House from an organization that he had secretly created in the White House called the Houston Plan. It's H-U-S-T-O-N, Plan. If you look it up on the computer, you will see that a man who was a friend of the president's called Tom Houston, that him and the president developed this plan in the White House where it would take over the FBI, take over the CIA, it would take over the National Security Agency, all these secret agencies, it would take it over. Only the president then would be in charge of running the intelligence gathering for the country. And I had something to do with all of that stuff. And my money was being paid to me from the Houston plant. Now remember, I was involved in a lot of dirty tricks, a lot of immoral, unlawful things that nobody should have ever been involved in, including murder. And if I talk about this stuff and tell what happened during that meeting, then people are never going to believe that President Nixon was innocent of Watergate. And he was, Michael. He was innocent. But if I tell what happened in his meetings, they'll never believe me. They will never believe me. They'll believe he's more guilty than ever. Are you taping me now?
I am.
Then you know what? Keep the recording and put it on the air, just as I've told you. Put it right on the air, just as we talked about in the past few minutes. Put it on the air and let people hear it. Because those are my reasons. I have no other reasons. Like I said, if I tell about those people in the hotel, it's going to hurt their families. And a couple of them are still living, but it will still hurt their families. Because the ones that's living are sick, they're old, some of them have Alzheimer's, they're much older than me, and I'm 71. And if I tell them what happened in his meetings, which was completely innocent with President Nixon, nobody is going to believe me about me telling them that Nixon was innocent. And he is innocent. I have no other reason for protecting the President of the United States. I'm not getting paid for this, Michael. Nobody's paying me to keep my mouth shut. Nobody's paying me to tell anything. And I would not want any money. I would not never accept any money from anybody who would tell me to keep my mouth shut or to tell me to say certain things that was not true. I would never take that type of money. Not at this point in time in my life. Earlier, years ago, when I was about a warrior, yeah, I would do anything to anybody that hurt them. I wouldn't care them.
Right.
But right now, at this age of my life, I guess maybe my heart has gotten a little bit more soft. And I care about people. I care about people more. Let me this way. I care about people more so now than I did back then. I guess maybe because I'm old, I'm sick, I'm disabled. My wife has left me. She's 39 years younger than me, you know, and she's never given me the reasons why she's left me, except of my involvement with Watergate and some of the things that I did to hurt people. She never approved of it. And my son, Antonio, is in prison because they tried to get him to talk to me to keep my mouth shut, and I wouldn't do it. So they set him up to put him in prison, and he's got to be in there another year and a half before he can get out. I probably won't live long enough to even see my son come out of prison. And if I die before he gets out, Michael, there's nobody in the world that's going to help him. I'm the only one who sends him money for him to buy things from commissary, little things, you know, like deodorant and soap and some candy, or he smokes cigarettes, whatever. But he wanted no one to help him, and it's not right. He's already suffering by keeping his mouth shut. He told me, I will not tell anything on you, and I will never hurt you even if they ask me to, if they pay me to. You know, I admire and respect and love my son for that, okay?
That's beautiful.
Debbie is a little bit different. She would never hurt me in that way. But she's hurt me more than anything in the world by leaving me. And that's literally killed me. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very sick right now. I'm stressed out so bad over her leaving me the way she has. You
actually said the sinner's prayer with Butch Paw and asked Jesus into your life. Now, I know you're very bitter at God. And I just want to say that in spite of all of that, I can see the Holy Spirit moving through you just in the things you said. That's the Holy Spirit's presence on the inside of you. You asked him in, and he's in there, and he can take care of all the heavy lifting that needs to be done in any of our lives. I did want to ask you another question that we did discuss before. Now, you mentioned about the murders that were committed by passing out those pills. Were you part of any other murder plots, maybe with weapons?
Yes, I committed a murder for the CIA when they called me and asked me to take care of something for them, and they met with me and they gave me an umbrella. An umbrella on a day that wasn't even raining, and I had to cross the river into a town called Alexandria, Virginia, which is right across the river from Washington, D.C., where I lived and was working at the time for the government. And anyway, there was a man who was a lawyer. He was a big, big lawyer, and they wanted him out of the way because he was causing too much trouble. And they asked me simply to take him out, and I did that. And it wasn't a rainy day, but I guess that's why I think so much about the umbrella. But I kept wondering to myself, I wonder why nobody knows that the umbrella that I'm carrying on such a beautiful sunny day and not a cloud in the sky doesn't realize this is a murder weapon. And that's exactly what it was. I walked behind a man in Alexandria, in this little town of Alexandria, and he was standing in the corner waiting to cross the light. And I walked up behind him, and I had one that just looked like it's an average long black umbrella that men usually carry. And the only difference was that this was a gun. He didn't shoot bullets, but he shot darts. And I pulled the trigger on the handle at the back of his foot. I was that close to him in the street. In fact, I bumped him and jabbed him in the back of his foot with the umbrella above his shoe and pulled the trigger, and a little teeny tiny dart came out one side of his foot. And he died within less than 5 minutes, right in the street in front of me. So, the dart had cyanide, potassium cyanide in it, so that's what was inside the dart. But yes, I did carry that out, and they put it in the paper that the man died from a heart attack. He was a prominent lawyer working for civil rights and constitutional rights, and he died from a heart attack. And to be honest with you, Michael, that's all they would have discovered during an autopsy, because, well, I told you I did autopsies at Children's Hospital, but when they did an autopsy, that's all it would show, is that his heart had stopped. And it appeared to be a heart attack, and of course it would have caused blood clots instantly, and blood clots would be sitting there inside the aorta to the heart, and would have, stopped his heart. But nobody looked into it, because there was nothing suspicious about the way he died. Like I said, I bumped him and pulled the trigger of the umbrella, and the point of the umbrella shot a little tiny dart out in the back of his foot, and he fell over in the street, and within less than 5 minutes he was dead. The only thing that was suspicious was, if I was a police officer and was investigating that, I would wonder, well, what is the white foam around his mouth? Because that's a heavy trait of potassium cyanide, somebody who dies with that stuff. But it's a very quick death.
Did they send you on any other missions like this?
They sent me to New York City, but that was a failed trip. And I was to have killed one of the family members of one of the Weathermen fugitives. It was I can't remember how many there were, maybe 30-some, somewhere in that neighborhood. Weathermen fugitives, the ones who blew up the nation's capital, the dome, cracked the dome. They blew up part of the Pentagon. They blew up so many banks in the country. It wasn't funny. They killed 1 or 2 cops. One here in New York, when they were making a bomb, the bomb went off by accident, killed a cop. Bill Ayers, the professor in Chicago, he was the head of the Weathermen, him and his wife, Kathy Dohrn. She's also a professor in Chicago. And I've become friends with him, by the way. But Bill Ayers was the head of the Weathermen. He was also on my target list. I was supposed to have found him for the FBI. But the more that I learned about the Weathermen and learned about the causes as to why people, wanted to stop the Vietnam War and change different things, I started to sympathize with them because they were actually true. And we were engaged in the Vietnam War for oil. That's all. We had no beef, no problem with Vietnam. They had not done anything to us. They never attacked us. They never came over here and bombed anything. We went over there and did it to them. And we lost. We lost the war. We lost 55,000 men and women's lives, too. It's not counting about 200,000 of the Vietnamese who died, of old women, old men, and little babies and children who died from that war that we don't even talk about. But as you know, and I've told you earlier, that, when you're the average John Doe, the governments don't care. And that's just not our governments, all governments. They don't care. Governments are the esoteric group of people who run the world, and they have their own little private group. They are not the Illuminati or any of those things. The Illuminati is only for the Pope in Rome and the Vatican. It has nothing to do with world control of power. And I don't care how many people out there disagree with me, but I'm telling you the way it is because I knew the facts, and they These other people, these conspiratorial type people, they didn't know the facts. They still don't know the facts. They're too busy sitting around the coffee table making up conspiracies and theories and that type of thing. They don't know the truth. Not the way I do, because I was there. I was one of the players. I was one of the actors. I was there. They weren't. So I know exactly what happened, and they don't.
Did you get in trouble because you did not carry out that hit against those two?
What was your question?
Did you get in trouble because you did not complete the hit against those two?
Oh, yes, I got part of the hit, yeah. Absolutely, and that's all a matter of record, too. It's in my files. By the way, anybody who's interested, you don't have to contact these agencies to get the files, or my files, rather, about my life. You can call it Michael Powell, Powell, he's a reporter and investigative journalist with the New York Times. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and he's written an article about me recently. They go in there and put on there Michael Powell, Robert Merritt, and the Kenmore Hotel, and they'll find more articles on me. That in fact, his was the most recent. And but I gave Michael Powell, the New York Times, all of my files, over 10,000 of them. And these were FBI, CIA files. Shows the type of work that I did. And just for anybody out there interested, I want to make it very easy for them to prove, and for me to prove, rather. Everything I'm saying is true. Michael Powell, Powell, columnist, investigative reporter, Pulitzer Prize winner for the New York Times. His picture and everything else is on the internet. Just Google Michael Powell. And he's at the New York Times at 628th Avenue, New York, 118. And his work number is 212-556-1884. And he's with his Googling thing, his website, what do you call it, is powellm@nytimes.com. So, I promise to give up mine to Robert Merritt, MERRITT, and my home is 2499 Grand, G-R-N-D, like David Avenue, apartment 2E, is like in Eddie, Bronx, New York, 10468. And my home telephone number that we're talking on now is 646-670-9518. And I invite anybody to call me anytime, except that I do not and will not talk to anybody who's going to call and talk to me about religion. I was not a preacher. I was not involved with religion. But to me, that's something personal, and it was not involved.
And please respect Robert's wishes and in your phone calling, because right now he's not a well man. He has to go in for serious surgery, and so just please respect that. Go ahead, Robert.
But I really don't mind, because even though I take my last breath to any caller, it's fine with me. But because I want the truth out before I die, and I never know who I'm talking to at the other end of one of these telephone calls to me. And I've had calls all around the world, as far as Hong Kong, and even one man who called me from Iran, which I was totally shocked about. I don't know, I could be talking to a terrorist, and I could be talking to the president of some nation around the world. I don't know. But I'm willing to talk and to tell the truth. One thing I want to mention to Michael, I got fired from the FBI because I wouldn't carry out those missions. And they even threatened to take my life. And they did kill Rita Reed, by the way. They even boasted about it to me. They took Rita Reed, the drag queen, who was all involved in Watergate, because I had promised Rita that I would never tell about the switchboard, the conversation, and then I broke my promise to her. And by 12 o'clock that same night that I broke my promise to her and told these agencies she was dead. She was tied up and thrown into the Potomac River, where her body lies at the bottom of the river somewhere. They never went in there to drag the river, and they don't want to. They don't want to bring her out. But one of the agents told me, because I wouldn't carry out the threats, that, well, you don't want to be chained on your feet with cinder blocks tied to you and your hands in cuffs and thrown into the river with your friend Rita Reed. You know, so go ahead and run your mouth and get on radio shows and websites and make a movie, write a book, and just tell everything you know about us and see what happens to you. Because you'll be down there talking to your friend Reed at the bottom of the Potomac River. Anyway, I don't take threats, and I'm not concerned about my life.
Were you part of other planned murders by the CIA or FBI, or had knowledge of them?
I understand that I was, but I was not told the specifics. But yes, there were people that I was asked to call up, wanted to meet me at certain places, different restaurants, different locations, given pretenses to something that person was particularly interested in, to get them to come there. What happened to them after that, I don't know, because I was told not to go there. They would be met by other people. And I was told by very close associates that they did show up, but they'll never show up again, meaning that they were killed. So, there were many people. And I mean, all the people in the Watergate, evidence right under people's nose, and they don't do a damn thing about it. How about the people in Watergate? I mean, the woman coming from Detroit, Michigan, who had evidence in Watergate, and her car was wrecked between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. after driving several hundred miles, and she was killed. How about the woman, I can't even think her name, she's married to some big shot in Washington, D.C., but anyway, she was killed in the airplane crash coming up here from Florida. Just go on the computer and ask the question, who was killed during Watergate, and how did they die? And you'll see just by looking at how they died, that these were all murders, absolutely every one of them, conspiracies and murders. That's another thing that our government does under our nose, and nobody cares, nobody is interested.
I'll kind of leave it open to you, Robert, to whatever comes to mind. Go ahead.
Well, I can tell you now that there's much, I mean, I am very sick. And you know, I've been in the hospital in the emergency room due to my heart, and I am having problems in getting my breath. My heart is pulsating very erratically at the moment, but I have much better days, of course, but Mike, I just hope, and still keep the recording going. This is for the people here, too. So, you know, I've told you I've sent you the tapes, the recorder, you can listen to as many hours of tapes. You can pick and choose what you want, or you can take excerpts from them and combine them with this tape and make your own tape if you want. But there's many, many things that I have not told. It's not that I have forgotten anything. My mind and memory is excellent. It's just that my being sick right now I'm just drawing blanks. And it's just behind the stress of my wife, Debbie, not being with me, behind the stress of my son not being with me in prison and the way he's being treated inside of prison, and the stress of being here alone. And I have nothing here but my 2 cats and my aquarium full of fish and about a dozen little birds, and that's it. And I might be in a city of 12.5 million people, but, you know, you can be here and be one of the most loneliest people in the world, too. And there's many besides just me in that shape. And the population here is very heavy. But, you know, I look at the people sometimes out there who are listening to me, even though I don't hear them, I can't see them. And I don't know how many there are or what they look like or what cities they're from, but, you know, I have feelings towards these people who are the listeners, like they're my family or something. You know, I have an attachment towards them. Sometimes when I'm talking, I feel like I'm on the phone, just talking to myself, just rattling. But if I am intended, I guess, for the people to hear, it's, I talk about my mind. I don't have any books in front of me. I have no scripts in front of me. I don't have any teleprompter in front of me. What's coming to you for your ears to hear from me is straight from my heart and from my memory and from what God tells me to say. And that's it. Now, I can simply say that there, without mentioning names, there is a big-time Hollywood producer, very well-known, who has contacted me and my wife, Debbie, to do a movie, and they have offered several millions of dollars for it. I don't want a penny of it. I have sold my book, my life's rights, right to the time of my death, and even after my death, to my wife, Debbie, for $1 is the contract she has. Everything is to go to her and to my son, which I'm sure Debbie will take care of. But I live very simply. I have one pair of shoes on my feet from Payless for $19.95. And a lot of my clothes came from Goodwill or people, clothes that people gave to me. You know, my pants I get at one of what people would call the dollar stores, and my shirts too. It doesn't cost me more than $10 or $12 for my shirt and pants both. The point I'm trying to make is I have no gold. I don't have no limo out front. I live very simply in the Bronx, New York. I live in a ghetto section, mostly Hispanic. I think I'm one of 3 Jews who live around here. I don't like to call myself exactly Jew. I refer to myself as a Judeo-Christian Jew. I'm sorry, Judeo-Christian. But, like I said, I live very, very simply. The thing that people don't know is that I didn't ever really resign from being a CI or a confidential informant until just about 2 or 3 years ago. I was the one, even up past the time my book came out. I never told that. But I was involved in narcotics, buying guns, buying drugs, and the criminal aspect of the type of life. The political stuff, that stopped a couple of years back. But all politics are dirty. All politicians are crooks. Even Nixon himself, as much as I respect him and love him, I mean, he was a crook too, to a certain degree. But to me, him being a crook was very minor little things. He jaywalked the street while other politicians, strangled people to death. I mean, look what's going on in the world right now. The people, we got like Donald Trump, who's going to be obviously the next president of the United States. Our country has just gone to the dogs. I hope that this tape will wake up some people and they'll try to do something to restore our nation, get it back to being a country, get it back to being a big family the way it was when I grew up as a little boy, where when somebody died, all the neighbors come running over. We never locked our doors at night. All we had was screen doors with hooks on them, a bathroom hook on them, and never shut and locked our doors. Don't remember anybody ever having a key to our doors to our house because we never really locked them. Like I said, someone died, gets sick, with neighbors would come right over in the middle of the night to help you. They don't do that now. And there's no trust. The trust people have gone. People that I'm talking about are dying off every day. Most of them have already died. I'm from West Virginia, where there were mountain people, and people are very honest. They're very outspoken. They don't bite their tongues. They say what they think and the way they feel, but they tell the truth. No matter who it hurts, they do tell the truth. And that applies to me true. I tell the truth, but there are certain things that I just won't talk about no more. I'm sorry, let me take that back. There are certain things I won't talk about. I've never talked about to anybody. And I prefer for those things to remain silent forever. Because if I tell everything about my life and compromise literally several hundred people that were involved in corruption with me, or I corrupted them, whatever the case may be, a lot of them corrupted me, that it wouldn't do any good. A lot of these people are dead. One's is alive, or senile, Alzheimer's, or dementia, or something. And all I'm going to do is hurt their families. I'm going to hurt their children, their wives, their uncles, their aunts, or their grandchildren, or that sort of thing. And that's not what I want. Their families is nothing to me, and their families is nothing to hurt anybody in this country either.
If I can interject, you've been an insider to a lot of what really goes on in government. You were entrapping these people in Washington, D.C., the site of power in the United States. Knowing what you know, do you have any confidence in the two parties that basically rule this country?
I'm sorry. Does anybody really believe that? Do you believe that, Michael, that two parties rule this country? It's just one party, I thought.
Well, you're right.
They're one and the same. It's just all a joke. It's all theatrical, Mike. I mean, watch the news every day, how they cut each other up in little pieces, Donald Trump and all the other people in the Republican Party, and how the Democrats will do it, and they'll do it to each other. It's really a one-party system. It should be a two-party. It should be. But our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, civil rights, and all those things, well, they can take them out, and you can use them, excuse my language, to wipe your ass on in your bathroom, because that's about all they serve. Those things are gone. This country is gone. I would love to see our Constitution and all this stuff restored and honored and respected and loved the way that I would love it to do those things. But that stuff is gone. And our so-called two-party system, well, I don't know when that ended, but, a lot of things changed, I guess, when John Kennedy was killed. That's another thing, too. I met Jackie and John Kennedy in West Virginia, worked in their primaries, and he was a judge, James A. Mellon, M-E-L-L-O-N. He was from the famous Mellon family up in Boston, Massachusetts. He's from one of those, I understand, billionaire families in the country. But anyways, I met Jackie and John through him when after the primaries was over and we won the West Virginia primaries for his election. They took me and all bunch of other people for dinner, and I got to have dinner with Jackie and John Kennedy. And I have a great love for him, just like a lot of other people did in this country too. And it really hurt when he was shot and killed that day in Texas. And I'd say our country probably went down the drain at that time, Michael. And all the conspiracies of BS that people listen to about, Oswald being a secret spy for the Russians and the Cubans, it's all a bunch of crap. Why can't people believe anything the way it was reported? I mean, it's simply reported that anything just remember quick. What was his name who killed the president?
They accused Oswald of killing him.
Yeah, Oswald. Okay, Oswald did kill him. And it was just that simple. He shot the gun through the window, he killed the president, and he went to the theater after he killed the cop, too. And it was that simple. And how Jack Ruby got involved in it, he thought he was going to be a hero in the nation. He was mafia-tied. I understand he was under investigation, was about to be arrested on a bunch of stuff, so he thought that people would honor him and respect him in his country for killing the man who killed the most beloved president ever. But it didn't work out that way. But there was no conspiracies. To my knowledge, there were no conspiracies involving John Kennedy with anything or Oswald involved with anything except the way it was about. If there's any conspiracies about it, it was only one thing, and that was that John Kennedy told several people in Texas that when he got back to Washington, D.C., to the White House, that he was going to cut the number of people down working in the CIA and the FBI for intelligence gathering. Now, that could have been a very, very serious threat to those people. Now, if they killed him, that would be the reason that they would have killed him, was because of that. They didn't want a budget cut, and they didn't want to lose anybody in those agencies, because they didn't know who would keep their jobs. So, because the president being killed, well, then plans went out the window for anybody losing their jobs, and those agencies losing anybody, because the whole nation, the whole world depended on those agencies to try to prove who killed the president, especially when they were making up a conspiracy about Oswald, shooting it around the country and feeding it to the press. But that's just one of many examples. A lot of things that you do read and you do hear about are true, just the way it is. I grant you there are conspiracies. That's the conspiracies that really happen. Guess what? They're never written about. It's like I told you about the hundreds of people that I was involved with, I killed in Washington, D.C. A little tiny column on page 822 that says that there was a bunch of hippies that experimented around with some drugs, some LSD that overdosed and died. Well, that was the size of the article. Imagine what the size of the article would have been if I came out and confessed during that time. We would have been on the front page of every newspaper in the entire world. FBI informant, Robert Merritt, says that he killed these people and that they gave him, LSD taffy to pass out to these hippies anyways because they were children of people in America, and mostly in little towns like you live in, Michael, and your listeners live in, and guess what? Nobody gives a damn about you. It's just like I'm telling you right now, and people are going to be concerned about anything that Robert Merritt's going to say, well, be concerned about this. In the book of Revelations in the King James Bible, it talks about the scorpions and how scorpions will crawl upon the earth. Do you know that the government has this thing called the Scorpion Plan or Scorpion Project, where they have secret silos all around this nation, around various big cities, that when the time comes that they have to get rid of people, and if there is a serious revolution against our government here, or against certain people in our government here, they have the ability to have the buttons pushed, and those missiles will rise up out of the ground and point at the different cities and take out most of our population in this country. Now, this is our own government who made these missiles, who made these silos, who put them around the cities, and who is there with the ability and the capability of killing hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not several million people all at once by these missiles that they call the Scorpions. So take right up your country people and ask a few questions. Has the government done any digging there recently? Or is anything under excavation?